Rape culture is a term that was coined by feminists in the United States in the 1970s. It was designed to show the ways in which society blamed victims of sexual assault and normalized male sexual violence. Emily Butchwald, author of Transforming a Rape Culture, describes that when society normalizes sexualized violence, it accepts and creates rape culture. In her book, she defines rape culture as a complex set of beliefs that encourage male sexual aggression and supports violence against women. It is a society where violence is seen as sexy and sexuality is seen as violent. In a rape culture, women perceive a continuum of threatened violence that ranges from sexual remarks to sexual touching to rape itself. A rape culture condones physical and emotional terrorism against women as a norm. The idea of rape culture plays out in a case that occurred recently. Former Stanford student and athlete Brock Turner was convicted of 3 counts of felony sexual assault after sexually assaulting a 22-year-old woman around 1 a.m. on January 18, 2015. Police reports indicated that the woman was unresponsive but breathing and that she was intoxicated. In March, Brock Turner was convicted of sexually assaulting an unconscious woman, and in June was given a 6-month jail sentence with 3 years of probation. He also had to register as a sex offender. In a letter which was written in advance of Turner's sentencing, Dan Turner writes about the many ways in which his son's life has been deeply altered forever over what he terms 20 minutes of action. Dan Turner states in his letter, "As it stands now, Brock's life has been deeply altered forever by the events of January 17th and 18th. He will never be his happy-go-lucky self with that easygoing personality and welcoming smile. His life will never be the one that he dreamed about and worked so hard to achieve. This is a steep price to pay for 20 minutes of action out of his 20 years of life." Dan Turner talks about how his son's promising life will be destroyed by a single mistake without once mentioning how the rape might have affected the survivor. He also quotes that he has no prior criminal history and has never been violent to anyone, including his actions on the night of January 17, 2015. Brock can do so many positive things as a contributor to society and is totally committed to educating other college-age students about the dangers of alcohol consumption and sexual promiscuity. By having people like Brock educate others on college campuses is how society can begin to break the cycle of binge drinking and its unfortunate results. Dan Turner's letter distills many of the worst parts of rape culture. In regards to Dan Turner's letter and Brock Turner's case, here are some truths about sexual assault and rape culture. 1. Sexual assault is a violent crime. Despite Dan Turner's claim that his son had never been violent to anyone, including his actions on the night of January 17, 2015, by definition, sexual assault is the violation of another human being's body. In other words, sexual violence is violence. 2. It is possible to consume alcohol and not commit sexual assault. Although binge drinking can impact one's decision-making abilities, alcohol does not cause one to go out and sexually assault another. 3. Sexual assault is not promiscuity, it is sexual assault. Being promiscuous requires active participation by those involved in said promiscuity. Victims of sexual assault have not given consent. The idea that young people are having lots of casual sex is not the problem. What is the problem is that we live in a world where some young men feel entitled to access to women's bodies.
According to the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, about 1 in 5 women will be raped at some point in their lifetime, and in 8 out of 10 cases of rape, the victim will know the person who sexually assaulted them. Sexual assault and rape culture is not limited to any specific sexual orientation or race. About 46.4% lesbians, 74.9% bisexual women, and 43.3% of heterosexual women report sexual violence other than rape during their lifetimes. Black and his colleagues state that approximately 22% Black women, 14.6% Hispanic women, and 18.8% white women have experienced rape in their lifetime. Rape culture is everywhere in our society, not just on college campuses. But where does it come from? Sexual assault and violence against women is a problem within our society that is continually perpetuated by how our society teaches people to view women. Haro talks about the cycle of socialization, which states that when we are born, we just are who we are, and we exist in a system that is already established. But as we grow up, those who are around us, including our family and friends, socialize us. This socialization is what shapes our self-concept and self-perception, the norms and rules we must follow, the roles we are taught to play, our expectations of the future, and our dreams. Within this socialization process and upbringing in our society, women are continually described as the physical, intellectual, and moral inferiors of men. Throughout our society, men are taught that women are not only physically weaker, but lack all the important virtues, including courage, strength, and rationality. It is these views that perpetuate the problem of violence against women. Here's just one woman's story about her experience of rape culture in the workplace.
So, Patricia Collins has an article called Towards a New Vision, and in that she discusses this systemic gender oppression that is present in most social institutions. As we've been discussing, that's pretty prevalent in the rape culture that you see in college campuses. For me, I've seen it, um, the systemic oppression of women and rape culture at my practicum. I'm at the VA hospital in Salt Lake City, and how I'm treated by the veterans is very evident of rape culture. I'm called little sweetie, little lady, doll, baby doll. Even at one point in a group, I was addressed as the eye candy. I wasn't acknowledged as the clinician because I was a facilitator of the group. I was called eye candy, and that's how I was identified multiple times through the group. Um, and it's been very difficult to get the respect that I feel I deserve as a clinician. Um, it's very obvious how I'm seen by the men there and how a lot of the women don't really stand up.
To transform a rape culture, we must replace sexual ignorance with sexual knowledge. It is important to educate people in society, starting at a young age, what healthy and romantic relationships look like and what consent looks like. Implementing a comprehensive sex education in our school systems in America could be a start. I realize some states provide students with such education, but majority of states do not. A comprehensive sex education can provide the knowledge needed for individuals to engage in healthy sexual relationships. Also, our society puts a great deal of emphasis on how a woman should look as though that were the thing that determines her value, and how a woman should behave, but there isn't much focus on the men and how the men should look or behave. If we are serious about significantly and permanently decreasing our rape rates, we must move men, and especially young boys, away from a definition of masculinity that centers on toughness, power, dominance, eagerness to fight, lack of empathy, and a callous attitude toward women. Masculinity must be redefined to include caring, nurturance, and empathy, along with traditionally masculine attributes as courage, strength, initiative, and adventurousness. The most important gift anyone can give a girl is to instill in her a belief in her own power as an individual, her value without reference to gender, her self-respect as a person with potential.
Well, I also give you one bit of advice. Don't go to parties where there's a lot of alcohol.